Got my eyes straight ahead, got my head in the game. With the red light on, I'm just waiting for the change. Keep my head down low.
Hi, Jay Fallon. So the other day, I obviously had this discussion with Tabitha Rickard. She said she was going to send me she had sent me a video, better report on a fairly little-known law in Victoria. I think it's based on the 1715 Riot Act legislation in the which comes from the motherland, the United Kingdom. But yeah, we have this law which is apparently still enforceable in Victoria at the moment. So they're taking steps to try and change it, but it looks like they haven't been able to change it at the moment. It's a little, to say the least, it's a little concerning. Now, the only anyway, I'll play this video for you. This is the only one that I could actually find, and I did read up a bit about the actual the legislation itself. So it is fairly disturbing to have this here, you know, in Australia. But at the same time, it's disturbing, but it's not that surprising. It's not that surprising that it's not being removed either.
Outraged at heavy-handed policing during the COVID pandemic can thank their lucky stars because it could have been much, much worse. Now, I know that's a big thing to say because, well, remember this?
Media! Media! Media!
They're throwing stuff now.
Well, it turns out police were going easy on the public. There's a little-known law on the books in Victoria that gives police the power to do pretty much anything, including killing people if they fail to move on after being told to do so. And here's the important part: in the name of the King. Now, this law, inherited from England, is called the Riot Act. And basically, it works like this. If a magistrate or a justice of the peace reads a prepared statement to a crowd telling them to move on in the name of the sovereign, they've got 1 hour to do so. And
1 hour to do so. So yeah, like you said, it is based on a law which was brought over from the United Kingdom from 1715. Just the fact that they've still got it on their books. Victoria, like I said, brought this law in 1860. The fact that they've got it in, they've been trying to remove it, and yet still unable to remove it, or unwilling to remove it. Very concerning. Continue anyway.
And if they fail to do so, the law, the Riot Act, still on the books in Victoria, states, and I quote, "If persons so unlawfully, riotously and tumultuously assembled happen to be, killed, maimed or hurt in the dispersing, the offenders, that is the police, shall be free, discharged and indemnified of, for and concerning the killing, maiming or hurting of any such person unlawfully assembled as aforesaid." Now, this came to light yesterday when MPs were dealing with a bill to remove references to the sovereign or the monarchy from various pieces of legislation. Now, MPs voted to remove references to the Queen from this particular act, but left the act itself, which indemnifies police from killing citizens who fail to move on from a protest, on the statute books.
So it makes absolutely no sense why you would attempt, why you're going through the motions to remove the reference to the Queen, but you still want this law kept in Victoria. Makes absolutely no sense unless you think that this law may be used in the future. That's the only reason why I can see you would want to keep it.
Here's Liberal Democrat David Limbrick.
I am unsure with what's more concerning to me, the licence to kill without consequence provided by this Act, or the fact that upon review, the only amendment the government felt necessary to this archaic power was omitting Lady the Queen and God Save the Queen from the proclamation that allows murder.
Kel and Liz, I'm wondering, is this like an amusing legal oddity, or is this something the Victorian government should repeal and get rid of?
100% they should repeal it, which other countries have done. Our mother country, the UK, did 10 years before I was born because they recognised that it wasn't right for them.
Yeah, okay. Look, guaranteed, there's no question it should be repealed. We'll go through a bit of other information here. So basically, this Victorian piece of legislation, the 1860 Riot Act, is based on a piece of legislation from the United Kingdom, which is from 1715, which is also where we get our saying to read the Riot Act. You would basically get up and read to a group of, I think it was 12 or more peoples who were unlawfully gathering and protesting something, and you would read them, read the act to them, read them their rights, read them the Riot Act. You'd give them 1 hour to move on. So I'll just read for you a little part of this abstract piece headed and the Riot Act was read. So this says it was based, it's a brief history of the law of crowd control, which takes the Riot Act of 1715 as a centerpiece, and recounts the measures taken to suppress public disturbances. When someone says that they read the Riot Act or had the Riot Act read to them, we all know what they mean. For one reason or another, someone has behaved in a way that impacts adversely on others or themselves, so they're cautioned as to the antisocial nature of their behavior and advised to stop immediately or face greater sanctions. And when they say greater sanctions, they mean greater sanctions. So the Riot Act of 1715 prescribed that where 12 or more persons comprising an unlawful, riotous, and tumultuous assembly disturbed the public peace and did not disperse within 1 hour of being commanded to do so, those persons comprising of assembly were each guilty of a felony without benefit of clergy, and the offenders therein shall be adjudged felons. And that's felons, not like my last name, Felons, felons, and shall suffer death as in case of felony without benefit of clergy. Clearly, the penalty was particularly grave and no doubt intended to operate as a sufficient deterrent to would-be rioters who would have been well aware of the relative impotence of the constable and the watchman when confronted by the mob. So, look, to have a law like this available to state police in Australia, in a state within Australia, very concerning. I've got no idea why they wouldn't just take it off as quickly as possible. Why would you leave it in? Why would you argue? Why would you push to leave it in? Why not just remove it immediately? And this is the government which Dan Andrews is in charge of. Yeah, like I said, we see it time and time again. New legislation comes through. There seems to be very either harsh penalties or some really outlandish pieces to different legislation. And people stand up and say, well, why would you have this in there? And politicians always say, well, this is just for extreme measures, just extreme cases. We won't use it. We hope that it won't ever get used. It won't ever come to that where we'll have to use this kind of, we'll have to take those measures that we've mentioned in there. But you only have these things in your legislation if you think you may have the possibility to use it. It's a problem when a state within the nation of Australia has legislation on its books that is available for them to use, and it shouldn't be. Very concerning. Let me know what you think. My name's Jay Fallon. Thanks for listening to The Slippery Slope.
They just fuel a desire that will take me higher. I'm on fire because nothing's gonna bring me down. Nothing's gonna bring me down. Nothing's gonna stop me. You're saying